All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here. Mark P. Markets. Just adjusting my microphone. Thank you for joining me for another Bitcoin video analysis session. We have a couple of things to talk about here, so I want to get this thing started quickly. Hold on. I am simulcasting on TradingView, so let me pull that up here real quick. All right, and we'll get this thing started. Okay, so if you're new to the stream, welcome. Let me explain to you how this works. All right, so here, let me just move this over here so I could see the chat. Okay, cool. Now, so here's how this works. First, I'm going to go over the economic calendar, which you should always be in the habit of doing at the beginning of each week to make sure that you are aware of all the high potential economic events that may be ahead. All right, number one. Number two, then we're going to go over this Bitcoin situation. I hope you read my analysis that I wrote yesterday on TradingView, because we're going to basically review that. So if you haven't read that, you should read it now real quick. And then we're going to go after that. We're going to go over maybe some trade scanner stuff if we have a trade worth talking about. I saw earlier what dollar yen came out short. There were a couple other ones, but there's some comments I have to make about the trade scanner and what we're doing to also adjust it to improve its performance. So I'll talk about that in a moment. All right, so that's pretty much, those are the things we're going to go through. I'm going to try to keep this thing at a half hour, maybe slightly over, hopefully, but you know, I talk a lot. Hey, Sean, how are you? All right, so let me just say hello to my regulars, Sean, Steen, good to see you guys. Let me show the slide here real quick. All right, so we can get this thing started. All right, so this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Also, if you're watching me on TradingView, if you can't see me, make sure you refresh the browser. That usually solves the problem, okay? Man, the traffic on there has been really low. I don't even know why I stream on that platform. I mean, you know, they're good to me and stuff, but man, I don't know. I spend a lot of time setting that up, and like 2 people show up on there. All right, anyway. Okay, so now, so first things first, before we get into the economic calendar, let me just say a couple of things. If you're looking for an exchange to trade Bitcoin or altcoins or whatever, check the links in the description. You'll notice there are a couple of affiliate links there, okay, for Bybit and for Mexi. Those are Stian's affiliate links. Stian is the guy that makes all of the technology for my website possible. So he gets a small cut if you fund an account and place trades, right? And it goes a long way for him to help continue to develop the community. There's a lot of things that we're working on behind the scenes. This guy does a lot of work, okay? So we would appreciate if you want to help support that way. That would be a nice way to do it. Also, there's a benefit. There's a big benefit to that, and it's not just to Stian. All right, what we're doing is we're working on getting the bot, you know, the trade scanner, to take trades on your behalf, okay? So basically it'd be like an auto trader. It's not there yet, but we're working on that, right? So basically there'll be no excuse of missing trades anymore because the bot will take the trades. This is going to be primarily for things like Bitcoin and altcoins, not the other markets. We're going to start with that. So if you have an account at one of these exchanges and we have the API set up, you will have access to that, okay? You will be able to take advantage of that. All right. Anyway, just wanted to mention that real quick. Also, if you want free trade ideas, right? Link in the description, trade of the week. I want to mention that. I want to say something about that. And also, we have a free Discord community. There's a link in the description as well. Check that out. There's a free area. There's a lot of interesting chatter. We are working on a mechanism right now. We've been working on this for a while, but I'm going to be able to put more information in the server, in the Discord server, more easily soon. We have something sort of working right now, but we're going to improve on that. Okay, so we're always working on improvements. I know things are a little slow sometimes, but you know, we can only do what we can. So anyway, there's a lot on the horizon. So just, you know, please be patient. But there's more things coming. The interaction or the analysis notes that I put in the chats, right? Like the one for Forex and stocks and whatever. That's where the notes are going to go. So it allows me to share quick observations, like a blog, right, with a chart, and I can share right now. I can share an observation, but the chart doesn't come along with it, right? You have to go to the blog to see the chart. I put a link. You can click on the link, right, and you can see the chart from TradingView. Anyway, just wanted to mention that that's going to be a valuable feature because then I can communicate with the community and I can show you things or point out things that otherwise would take me too long to do if I had to actually go in and type in this and that, whatever. All right, so I'm not going to get into all the technical details, but that's what's coming. All right, so with that being said, again, if you want to, all the links in the description, check that out. And if you like the stream and you like what I'm doing, please press the like button. Please press the boost button on TradingView and all that stuff, and subscribe to the channel. And that's always helpful as well. Okay. Hey, Milad, how are you? Okay, cool. Thank you. You too. Good to see you. Milad comes here every week. He's my only New Yorker. He's the only guy in New York City that actually watches me. Okay. Anyway, so we'll take a look at a few things here. Okay. Hey, Adnan, how are you? All right. So yeah, I'll see if we can get to that. All right. Because I know I talk too much, but thanks for the question. All right. So let's get into this. Before I make the chart bigger, I want to mention the economic calendar, right? Let's talk about that real quick. So we're in week 4 right now, all right, of the year. And usually in week 4, there may be a couple of things here and there, but this week, there's only 2 things worth mentioning, okay? There's on Wednesday, which is the 25th, is Wednesday. We have the Bank of Canada, right? We have their rate announcement, I believe. So that's not a major report, but if you're in a forex pair that has the CAD connected to it, it could have an effect, right? But that's usually not a global market mover. And then on Friday we have GDP, the U.S. GDP, which is not really a market mover at all. That's like old news, right? So that's not important. The key reports that we're keeping an eye out for are non-farm payrolls and FOMC meetings. Speaking of FOMC meetings, we have one next week. Okay, so I'm just mentioning that now because I happen to notice it on the calendar. So we have one next week, right? And that can affect things. So we'll talk about that next week. I just wanted to mention it. All right, anyway, that's it. There's nothing else on the economic calendar, which means I would categorize this week as a quiet week in terms of economic news. All right, so that's good in some ways because usually it does not have an adverse effect on volume. When there's a lot of economic news on the horizon, something like FOMC, volume can be affected and things can get very hard to understand at times. Okay, let's move on to the next thing here and let's get into the chart. Now, again, if you have questions, you can put the questions in the chat. I'm going to try to answer a few, and we can go from there. Also, by the way, we do have a free trial. I want to mention this. We have a free trial for Market Signals Pro, right? And you can get access to whether the cryptocurrencies, the stocks, or the Forex. You can get 1 week for free. You get all the signals for free by email. So I encourage you to check that out. Okay, you can cancel it at any time. There's a link in the description for that. You can cancel that at any time. And on that note, I just want to mention something about the trade scanner and the stock trade scanner, because again, we have to we're working on making some adjustments on that. The trade scanner for the stocks has had about 25 or 26 losing trades in a row. That's a lot. And only like 2 winners, right? In fact, we're experimenting with doing the opposite because that's kind of unusual to have that many in a row, right? Now, one of the factors that we use for the stocks is we look at the S&P. But I noticed something the other day. S&P made new highs, right? New multi-year highs or whatever. And how is it that we got stopped out of 25 longs? Longs. We weren't shorting. These were all longs, right? And yet S&P makes new highs and these things got stopped out in the process. So that tells me one thing. There's no correlation. Most of these stocks are not following the S&P. So that also tells me that there's probably just a small handful of stocks that are driving the S&P and NASDAQ, right? So don't get all excited about this new high thing. It's going to be all over the news, right? All the experts are going to talk about it. There's nothing to get excited about. It's only exciting if you got in at earlier prices and you're selling now and you're taking profits. Great. Then you can celebrate. But if you're looking to buy now because markets seem safe, you're making a mistake. Okay. Or I should say you're taking extremely high risk. And that is not something you want to do. You make money in this game by taking smart risk, not mindless risk. We're going to talk about that here because that's relevant to this Bitcoin situation. Okay. So I covered the economic calendar and we can get into this chart now. All right, let me just look at some of these chats. What am I seeing here? Oh yeah, by the way, if you want to say what city or what country you're from, that's always a fun fact. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, also known as northern New Jersey. Okay, so sometimes I say funny things as a result. All right, let's make this chart bigger first. All right, and then we will now talk about Bitcoin. So I hope you read my TradingView article. If you read my article on TradingView, you should press the boost button there as well, because that helps. Now, in my article, I basically said trade signal or trade idea, 42,250, right? Price never made it to 42,250. Now, the title of today's video is Bitcoin price action and how to trade if 40K breaks. Now, when I wrote that title, 40K hadn't broken yet, right? So now when I put the stream on, I'm like, oh, perfect, right? Good timing, market, thanks. So here's the thing. That trade idea, I want to point out, let me just get this going here. I want to point out would have been the break of this high right here. In fact, let me pull up a 4-hour chart so we can see this a little clearer. So that level that I was talking about on my article was basically right here, okay? This high right here is 42,152. See that? I'm going to put a line there. This was 42,152. My level was 42,250, right? So that's why, again, it pays to have levels in advance, to know in advance, because that trade never became a reality. And you were able to avoid getting caught in something like this. People who don't understand that, you have a lot to learn. So my point is, right, that never happened, which means this scenario that I drew on my chart, okay, this right here, never became active, right? So this is where you have to make an adjustment. Now, you have to think of this situation in this way. There are always, at all times, there are always 3 arguments to consider, okay? The bullish, the bearish, and the range bound. You should always consider these arguments. Now, these arguments will be greater or less than each other, and as the market changes, these arguments will change. So if you can recognize the argument and you can see which one is greater, then you know how to gauge your expectations. So let me give you an example. And let's go back to the daily chart, okay, to show you this example. So the bullish argument has been, we've been in this bullish structure, higher lows and higher highs, right? And as long as 40K holds, which is here, it's a higher low support, which basically comes from this wave 4, right? If it holds, then we can expect the bullish trend. We can say that the bullish trend is likely to continue if the level holds. If the level breaks, the argument changes, right? So now, again, like I said, there's always bullish, bearish, and range-bound arguments active at all times. We touched up here, this 50K, right? This thing up here. Now, if you read my analysis and you looked at you watched my streams for weeks and weeks, I talked about wave 5, right? I had this wave count on my chart for weeks. I talked about the potential of wave 5. I talked about the high risk at this level of bearish reversal. Now, I can't tell you how far it's going to pull back. All I know is the expectations are low. Whenever you can count 5 waves, that usually means the party is over. I get people on my chat, oh, this thing's just getting started. Oh, this thing is going nuts. Dude, it's a wave 5. If it's a wave 5, there's nothing in front of it. And that's where you ever hear that phrase, buy the rumor, sell the news? That's really where that comes from. Buy the rumor, people buy the potential, right? So that's all this Bitcoin ETF nonsense, right? That's buy the rumor. Everyone thinks, oh, all this potential. So you're chasing the potential. Okay, great. But once the news comes out, there's no one left to buy. There's no more potential. That variable that was driving the market is no longer in play. So what do? People are taking profits because there's no more potential and there's no one left to buy because there's no more potential to buy, right? And that's when you get stuck in this situation. So who gets caught here? People who don't know better, people who believe in fake gurus, people who buy into hype. If you're one of those people, you have to take accountability, right? It happens. When you're a beginner, it happens because you don't yet have a strong filter to recognize nonsense. All right, I've been doing this now. This month makes it 25 years that I've been in this game. So I recognize nonsense in an instant. That's why I don't pay attention to news. It doesn't help me. In my article, as I wrote, I only look at two things to gauge my expectations. That's trend, it's levels. That gives me an expectation to work with. But how I use that information is going to depend on what type of strategy that I'm looking to employ. Am I looking to employ a day trade? Then I'm going to use the information a certain way. Am I looking to employ a swing trade? Then I'm going to use that information in another way, okay, that's relevant to the time frame and strategy. That's what you need to understand. Like, so for example, if you're looking at day trade longs up in this area, okay, they're day trades. If you're wrong, you're going to get stopped out anyway, and you're not going to be exposed to this pullback, right? As compared to if you were buying as an investment at 50K or 49K or whatever, or you're buying the breakout because you think, you know, this thing is just getting started, and you plan to hold on to it because you have large expectations, your risk is high and you're exposed to this potential, right? That's what you need to recognize, the potential. So you always have to look at the arguments from all three sides and kind of gauge which one is gaining momentum and which one is not. Okay. So quick again, example up here, the bearish argument was strong up here. The risk was extremely high for longs. Now, it doesn't mean you just go short. It just means that you should probably avoid longs or have very low expectations. Now, that takes us to where we are now. All right. So this is what I want to point out. Okay, and I could use this time frame for this. So in this situation, okay, we broke the 40K support. Now, that is a bearish argument, but we have to look at this from the trend and the levels perspective. Is 40K a resistance or a support? I can answer that for you guys. It's a support, obviously, right? So the obvious thing to do in a situation like this, Bitcoin's minus 1,400 points and all the fake gurus are coming out and calling it bearish and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. So the captain obvious thing to do would be to think short, but you should not be thinking short here. Even though it's a technical break, this is not a break with conviction. Right, and that's one of the points that I was trying to make in my article as well. Right, look where we are right now. We're at 4131. Okay, 40,131 as I speak. So if this was a break with conviction, we should be at 38.5 right now, or maybe this momentum continues, and maybe by tonight we're at 38.5. If we have that situation, okay, if we push in like this, the next candle looks like that, then that's a convincing argument for the bear side. And at that point, we don't go short at that point. We then change our expectations and say, okay, I'm going to expect less from longs. I'm going to expect more from shorts. But in order for me to get short, I need a resistance level. Okay. You don't short supports. You don't buy resistances. You have to think like a contrarian, right? Now, when I say that word contrarian, people think, oh, I just think the opposite. No, technically that's what it means. But when you operate like a contrarian, you're looking for situations where the herd is most likely thinking one way. In this situation, the herd is most likely thinking short, at least temporarily, right? You should be at least thinking this is a potential area for a long, even though 40K broke, it's not really a major break, okay? So you can't take things literally with the market. Markets are very messy. We need more conviction. So in this situation, if we're thinking long, here's the next area where people make mistakes. Is they say, okay, cool, long, I'll buy it now. It's a great level. Okay, but the thing is, this momentum hasn't reversed yet. So you open yourself up to the risk that this thing, the next candle, takes this thing to 35K, right? You have to give a chance for a green candle to develop. That obviously is going to take an entire day. All right. If you want to start small or something like that and give it, and get like a little taste, right? You can do something like that, but you're going to have to keep your stop pretty tight because, chances are it's going to get stopped out if this momentum continues. So my point is you can't just step in front of this, right? It's a bad idea. You want to wait for some sort of confirmation. And once you get the green candle, okay, you get the reversal. Now, we had green candles earlier, as you can see, and they never followed through. That can happen again. This is a probability game. This is not a game of trying to know the future or trying to forecast the future and say, I was right. Everyone wants to be right. Right has nothing to do with this. Right or wrong has nothing to do with this. This game has to do with how you manage risk. And if you can manage risk well, a byproduct of that is profits over time. If you can manage risk well. If you have no sense of risk and you're just doing Captain Obvious stuff, you have no chance in this game. Okay. There are enough obstacles in front of us that you can't even see. The industry is an obstacle. The random nature of the market is an obstacle, or market efficiency, right? It's something you can't even see. You don't even know it's there, right? Those are obstacles. And our own psychology is an obstacle. So you need to be able to think outside of that to even have a chance, right? And that's what I hope to at least open people's eyes to. So again, the point of my stream is what you want before you go long. The conservative thing to do would be to wait for a green candle, right? Which obviously will take a day or two. You get the green candle, right? Takes out the high of the candle. We have a swing trade idea at that point, right? And I'm going to try to share that in the channel if I see it, because again, this is a high probability location for longs. Now, let me point something else out, right? So that's one scenario. That's the long scenario. Does that make sense to you guys? Let me know, yes or no, in the chat. Yes or no? Orange County. All right, cool. Good to see you. Let me just look at what else is going on here. Does that make sense to you guys? All right. I grew up in Alaska, but moved to Korea. Now planning to move to Thailand. Oh, man. Alaska to Korea. Well, I've never been to Alaska, but I hear it's cold there. Okay, let's see. Just looking through this. 36K to 37K will happen. You shouldn't think in absolutes. It may not. Okay? The market is the leader, not you. You have to understand something, right? People think actively. They think, oh, I think this, I think that. It doesn't matter what we think. The market is the leader. The market always knows everything, and we have to admit that we know nothing. Okay? Anyone that says, well, I think this, I think that, that means you're saying that you know more than the market. No one knows more than the market, unless you have inside information, unless you're friends with Gary Gensler or Chairman Powell or someone else, and they tell you, hey, man, I'm going to do this. Then you can say that because you know more than the market. But if you don't have that information, then you're just as blind as everyone else. The market leads. So my goal with information is to try to use the least amount of information possible to make a decision. That is my goal. Like, I'm a minimalist. So I look at the least amount of information to make an informed choice. And because of that, I'm more informed than everyone else, because everyone else is too busy looking at everything else, right? And being consumed by nonsense. And there's a lot of nonsense in this game, right? And most people, they buy into the nonsense. They buy into dreams. I'm not going to get into that rant right now, but you know my point. Anyway, okay, so let me just see what you guys say. I'm actually expecting BTC will eventually retract to 100. Okay, yeah, you're definitely going to have problems, okay? Because it's not reasonable. Hey, Scott. Hey, how are you? Long time no see. 8 years? No. Since come back to markets to take profit on highs rather than having bought the top. Oh, nice. 8 years? Man. I don't think anyone's been following me that long. Okay, cool. Oh, from Turkey. Welcome. Okay, so you guys follow me on this? So here's the point that I want to make. This situation right here, right? This is a bullish situation, even though it looks ugly at the moment, right? This can turn into a long. Now, what I want to point out right now is this squiggle that I drew on my chart for my TradingView article, this squiggle or this illustration is basically a scenario. Remember, our job as an analyst, forget the trader part, our job as an analyst is to narrow the range of outcomes so that we can then we can choose an outcome that is more probable. And if the market shows us evidence of that, we can act. Okay. And we can identify risk and then we can act. If we want to take that risk, we have better information to decide from, rather than, oh, I'm going to read the news and I'm going to just do this. No. Okay. Take your Captain Obvious hats off. So my point is, this was one scenario. The market rejected that scenario. The market said, nope, not going that way. Okay. So we adjust. We always have to adjust. That is the mindset, right? When you want to be a trader, it's not about being right. It's about adjusting all the time because the market leads. We are followers. We are always going to be the follower. It's a passive mindset. It's hard for many people to understand, okay? But it's passive. The market tells us something, we have to listen. We don't insert our own idea, okay? We don't assert our own idea. The market doesn't care. The market does what it wants to do for whatever reason. We don't know all the variables that are affecting the market at the moment. The news only shows us one, and then we think, oh, that's the reason. And it's a coincidence a lot of times. There may be other factors in the market that we don't know about. So we have to look at price action to get clues. That's what I have to do because I don't have inside information, right? I don't pay attention to anything else but price action and information that I can gather from the chart. So my point is this. This is the bullish scenario. This scenario, although that my price, 42,250, never got taken out, we have to adjust and we may get a lower price, right? This candle that I'm trying to point out over here, that may be what unfolds over the next few days. That's one potential scenario. The other scenario, okay, well, if that follows through, then this is the resistance area we're looking at. You see that? That's the resistance area, 45K area, which means that is where you should be looking to take profits if we get a trade idea. You shouldn't be looking at 50K. You shouldn't be thinking, oh, it's just getting started, because this is a limited profit situation. Now, let's talk about why I say that. I'm going to go to the monthly chart now, okay? So let's go to the monthly chart. I've been pointing this out for weeks and weeks and weeks. Hopefully, many of you know and you've been listening, but many of you who are new may not know what I'm talking about. You can't, it's a little jumbled here because I have those numbers in the way. All right, but you see that red candle. That's the monthly, okay? This is a monthly pin bar. The month isn't closed yet. We still have a couple, a week and a half, right? If this closes like this and we take out the low of the monthly pin bar next month, that is a strong bearish argument. And that also supports my wave C idea, okay? This here is a B wave, this whole thing from the low to the high. If this starts the C wave can take us possibly back to 15K. Now, I just told this guy over here, he said 35, 36K, and I just told him, you shouldn't think that way. Okay, I'm not thinking in absolutes here. If you say, well, you just said the same thing. No, I'm not saying that this is an absolute certainty. I'm saying it's just one scenario that the market may start supporting, right? If we take out the low and we have a new sell signal, then you should reduce expectations. That is all you do. It doesn't mean we're going to go to 15K, but it opens the possibility. And you don't want to get caught in that. You don't want to start buying at 35K. Oh, that's the bottom. And then the thing goes to 25K. Maybe it goes only to 20K. Maybe it only goes to 30K and it turns. Who knows? There's no way to know. The point is, this is telling us right here that the risk is high on the long side. The long argument gets weaker here if this candle closes and the low is taken out. Please keep that in mind. That's the monthly chart, and that's the risk. I'm not trying to forecast the future that I can say, oh, I'm going to trade that because I know the future. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to measure the risk. So I could say, oh, if I'm interested in the longs, which I don't short Bitcoin, by the way. But if I'm interested in longs, this is the risk I'm facing. So I have to be aware of that. That's going to affect my sizing choices. That's going to affect, when I want to start investing. That's going to affect a lot of things, okay, based on that information. Now, this could be the A wave, right, of the C wave. This can be the A wave. You have to understand, when it comes to waves, corrective waves are either 3 legs or 5 legs. They can be 3 legs, corrective waves, but they can also be 5 legs, right? So this can be the A wave right here, which means we may get like a little mini B wave, a corrective wave going higher before we get the broader sell-off, which would be the more dramatic C wave, right? And we'd have our broad ABC, which can take us to a level that's not expected, right, by all these experts and stuff like that. So please, that it's about the potential of risk, not I'm going to try to trade that, right? When it comes to putting on trades, that's where you have to be very intimately aware of your levels and your momentum, right? That's why I built the trade scanner. I mean, for that purpose, because it follows momentum, and it's not perfect, but I hope it's been helping people. And we're always looking to improve it so that it helps you make better choices. Okay. So are we clear on that? So you guys understand the bullish and bearish argument. There's always a range bound argument as well. If this 40K holds, right, maybe and maybe we get our bounce up into here in that area, at that point we can say we're in a consolidation, right? Because we don't have a higher high, we don't have a lower low, right? And at that point, if we have a consolidation, then we're still eyeing this area as potential support until eventually one of these levels breaks. We cannot forecast the break. The market has to just tell us. It has to do it, and then we adjust. Someone asked me a week ago, it was a good question, and I ran out, I wasn't able to answer the question, but someone asked me, how do you recognize a breakout or a fake out? Actually, he asked me, how do you recognize a fake out? You don't, okay? If you're going to take the breakout, you go long, and if it turns the wrong way on you pretty quickly, then that's not what it should do. So most likely it's faking out and you get out. That's it. You have to take the chance. There's no way you're going to know in advance. All you can know is that this is a high probability area for a fake out. And if you get evidence of a fake out, you got to do something. Get out. Have a tight stop. Get out. All right, because chances are it's going to pull back. Okay, that's how you recognize a fake out. Same on the bear side, right? It tries to break lower, fails to break out. It's probably going to squeeze. Okay, so if you're short, you should probably get out. Okay, all right. So let me see what's going on here. All right, so let me just look at these chats. Can you check INJ? Okay, hold on. I think it's just a matter of time. Historically, BTC always retraces back to at least 100. Well, don't use those words, man. Always. Look, I'm not trying to like embarrass you or anything or yell at you, but when you use these absolute words, you're creating an expectation in your mind, and that's going to hurt you in the long run. Trust me, I've done it. Okay, I've made all the mistakes possible. I've been in this game for a really long time. Like I mentioned earlier, if you think in absolutes, oh yeah, it does it because it always does it. It doesn't always do it. There's maybe a higher chance that it can occur, but if you think always, you're gonna be in trouble because you're going to get caught. Trust me, you will. Okay, the market can be irrational and do whatever it wants. So when you say, "Oh, it does this because it always does this," and then you take a position because you have a false sense of confidence, and then you get caught. So please, I'm trying to help you. Okay, don't think in absolutes. Just think in more of like loose probabilities. Okay, it may not. Almost 8 years. Right. Okay. Yeah. Almost. Okay, Scott. Cool. I'm saying 8 years. I don't think I've even been writing articles that long. Okay. I mean, I was active 10 years ago, but I wasn't as active. I really started getting active like in 2017. That's when I started like writing the articles on TradingView consistently. But I was active. I mean, there's videos of me from 2012. If you can find them. All right. So yeah, Stian, thank you. So let's get into the next part here. So Stian has this stock over here. This stock was talked about in our active investor chat. Okay. So let's pull that up real quick. The active investor chat, that's for like the premium subscribers, and that's where they talk about more advanced things in there, like options and stuff. And this was a stock that I know one of them One of my moderators has been following. Oh my God. No wonder. All right. So let's take this. In case you don't know, this is the Trump stock. Okay. Now, no matter what side of politics you're on, it doesn't matter whether you like them or don't like them. The stock is still a stock, right? And you have to look at the stock objectively. So let's take a look here. Let's go to a weekly chart. Yeah, so this stock is going to be very sensitive to his events that revolve around him, and his progress as the year now that the campaign is starting to get going. His progress is going to be reflected most likely in the stock price. Okay, so let's look at, this is the weekly. All right, let's go to a monthly. Wow, whoever was in this, yeah. Okay, so in a situation like this, for one, hopefully you're not short, okay? But for two, when it does something like this, I mean, look at that. This is all like in 2 days. Let's go back to the daily. Okay, I mean, yeah. So Steen says his question earlier about this was some active investors are in a trade, right? Because they've been talking about this one for a long time. How should they handle their trade? He asks. I would say take some profit. Yeah, definitely. So when you get something that goes vertical like this, right? A lot of people are obviously caught, and you have people piling in. When it goes vertical, never a bad time to take something off the table. So let's define levels on where you should be doing that. And we're going to go back to the weekly chart because we want to see some things here, right? So yeah, automatically take something off the table, right? This thing is up right now. What is this again? It's up 77% in 1 day. Ah, interesting. Okay, so definitely you want to take something off the table. Actually, it blew through this resistance over here. Look at this. Blew right through that, gapped through it. Right, so that would have been one place if you were long early. Now, in a situation like this, definitely take something off the table, but you don't have to take everything off the table, right? You want to take portions off. So I know a lot of those guys have options in this thing because usually that's what they get involved with, options. So you sell maybe a quarter of your position, maybe you sell half of your position. Lock in profits when it goes vertical, because this is where the fools start to jump. The fools start jumping in at this point, right? They, oh, this thing is going to the moon, right? So they all start buying, sell, get out, lock in profit. Now, what do you do after you lock in some profit? Well, you have a position, right? Go to a 4-hour chart and now use a manual trailing stop and you go to a 4-hour because you get some more detail, and put your stop like 2 candles below, right? So the manual trailing stop would be there right now, which is like, what is that? Hold on. Let me adjust that. So it'd be like, yeah, like right about here. So you could say $30. It doesn't have to be exactly at the bottom. You want to round it, but $30, right? This thing's at 47 right now. So once this candle closes today, your stop goes here, right? That's one way to do it. And you hold on to your position until you get stopped out. So that allows you to ride this thing. If this thing wants to run to $60, or if it wants to do something stupid and run to $80 or $90, you may possibly still be in part of that, right? You can't look at, oh, I should have held the whole thing. You can't let greed get in the way. But that's how you handle it. That's an amazing move. And just take profit off the table and let some ride, see how far it goes. Again, this thing could get ridiculous, and you want to, if it's going to pay you more, why not be part of that? In fact, we're working on that functionality that I just described, a trailing stop for the trade scanner, right? So that when it's taking trades on your behalf, it can trail the stop for you, but we'll also have it available manually. Well, we're working on it, where you can log into your dashboard and see the trailing stop, and you can adjust that way if there's a runner, right? And that's going to skew the reward risk more to be more favorable for you. All right, Steen, so thank you for that one. Let's talk about now. Adnan had one. I haven't seen Adnan in a while. It's good to see you. So Solana, let's take a look at Solana real quick. All right, nice move on this thing. All right, so let's see Solana. All right, so this is a good example. Let's go to a weekly chart. This is a good example of a wave 4 configuration, right? I mean, going back, a whole year. Look, this basically, we can argue that that's wave 1. right? Wave 2 consolidation, clearly a wave 3. This is a wave 4, right? So which means there's likely to be one more attempt higher in this situation. We don't have any evidence of that yet because there's no green candle. Again, this is a weekly chart, and this thing may consolidate for a little while, but there's potential for one more leg for test of high, right? Now, of course, you're going to need Bitcoin to support you on something like that. So maybe this is being affected, obviously, by the Bitcoin situation. I would look for one more leg. And once you have the fifth leg, then the party's over at that point, right? That's when the potential, that's when you want to start reducing expectations. So if you're long, and you want to look for that one more leg, okay. But make sure, though, that you have stops somewhere, or if you have some profit, maybe you should take some, because if this thing, there's no guarantee that this thing will give you the fifth leg. There's no guarantee. This thing can break. If Bitcoin breaks, this thing can break, right? And you don't want to get caught in that. So those are your situations. Bitcoin is obviously the leader. So I would keep an eye on this. You have a situation where this may turn into a failed low. If next week that you get a green candle that looks like that, that's a good sign. Or in the next couple of weeks, that's a good sign. Bitcoin should be doing something similar. And then maybe you get your leg, okay? But there's no guarantee that it's going to test that high. It may just barely get there. So don't let greed enter the picture. Take something off the table if you have that situation, right? Or if you're looking for a new trade, that's a trade I'd be looking for. All right, but use Bitcoin as your guide. All right, I hope that answers your question. All right, so cool. Thanks for asking. And I saw something about ING. Let's take a look. INJ USD. All right, so it's a very similar situation. Look at this. It's very similar, right? This is when you can see the wave count crystal clear like this. The wave count can be very helpful, right? This is a wave 4. So there is potential, just like I explained in that Solana trade, for one more leg higher, all right? But keep in mind, so that potential is there. This obviously is following Bitcoin. Keep in mind, Bitcoin has 5 waves in place, and Bitcoin may be in the broader corrective wave. Bitcoin may have one more attempt where there's a bullish move. If that bullish move does not result in a new high or test of high in something like this, then you should probably change your expectations, right? Because the party is likely to be over at that point. So again, there's no guarantee that the high will be tested. It may fail sooner than that, right? So you're going to have to use Bitcoin as your guide. If Bitcoin breaks, look out, right? Because these things may get hammered, because they're certainly in a position to get hammered. Just because we have 4 waves doesn't guarantee we'll have the 5th wave. I have to keep repeating that. It's just a probability thing where there's a greater likelihood that we get that one more test, okay, before a broader corrective wave unfolds. And that's where Bitcoin may be, right? And that's the wave C that I just described. Bitcoin may be in that situation. So maybe, now here's another scenario to consider. Maybe this, because when we look at the weekly chart, right, this doesn't really look that dramatic, right? This whole structure here on Bitcoin, that may be the wave 4. And maybe there is one more test of high on Bitcoin. And if you get that, these altcoins should show you a similar picture. On the other side of the argument, if Bitcoin breaks, those altcoins are probably going to have a hard time. All right, does that make sense? Okay. Okay, native New Yorker living in Texas, James. All right, Texas. Well, all right, boy. Texas. I love Texas. New Yorker to Texas. Man, you must be in Austin or something. All right. So let's sorry, so you guys clear on this stuff? You guys clear? Any questions? I know I've been talking too long. I usually talk too long. I can't help it. I like to talk. Any questions? So again, if you like what you see here, you want to join the community, we're planning more activity and stuff like that for the community. I'm going to be inputting more notes so that people have perspective and could get context on things, right? So we're working on the mechanisms for that. I know it's slow, but just work with us on that. You can get a free trial, 7 days free to see what's going on. you know, I put in the chat previously if people have feedback, and one guy said you should have a longer free trial. 7 days is fair, I think. Okay, I appreciate the feedback, but yeah, you get a whole week, man. All right, let's see. Took profits on Solana. Okay, have buy order. Okay, at 80.55, just missed it. FTX selling of Grayscale is over. Okay, hopefully we're going up now. This is on TradingView. I have a called. I mostly like it because I can mine it. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to get into that right now because I've been talking too long. But I appreciate the question. You know what? Do me a favor. Come back and ask next week, or come into the community. We have a community chat. You can ask in there, and either I can answer it or someone else can answer it. Ethereum. All right. No, Ethereum. Look, it's the same story as Bitcoin. Okay. I mean, just use everything that I said about Bitcoin will apply to Ethereum. Bitcoin is the leader. Yeah, I'm not going to get into all that detail now. I got to wrap this up. All right, you guys. So again, I want to thank you all for taking the time here with me here today. I hope you found something valuable in my stream. Check the links in the description. Join the community. Join Trade of the Week, you know, for free, or try out a free trial. If you have any questions, reach out to me, okay? You can reach out to me in the community. You can send me an email or whatever, and I'll be happy to answer them, okay? So, again, everyone, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you're in the world, and thank you very much for watching.